Welcome back, everyone, and help me welcome to our broadcast a dear friend who has been on our program before, who is so committed to helping entrepreneurs, not only adding enormous value, but more importantly, help, as she will tell you, really capture their dreams. Her company's CorpNet. Her name is Nellie Akalp. Nellie, it's great to be back with you.
Mo, thank you for having me on again. It's a pleasure to be here today.
So I want to start by talking about, here's what I see as a big differentiator between you, and you got great companies out there doing the same thing, probably in the same general area. But what I see about CorpNet as an advantage is you really are looking at holistically supporting the efforts of entrepreneurs, of small business owners, not just from the legal aspect of it, but you're giving them tons of resources. So just set the stage for everybody. What distinguishes you guys to everyone else out there? Because relatively speaking, they're all pretty equal, but I think the added value that you bring makes a difference.
Mo, simply stated, it's the relationships we create with our clientele. And really, that in and of itself is what makes us unique from our competition. And our clients rave about us. It's the relationship we create with them. It's the personal hand-holding that sets us apart. It's how we engage with our clients. And it's about going the extra mile for the client.
You guys definitely do that. And as you and I spoke about last time, I want to really pick up where we left off. Entrepreneurs, Nellie, as you and your husband are doers, right? We are out there grinding it out every day. The legal stuff bogs us down, right? There's no question about that, but it's obviously incredibly vital to our success. First, tell me the most important question that an entrepreneur needs to ask herself before launching a new venture.
The first question, in my opinion, is, am I actually starting a business, or is this a hobby? And is this something that's going to make a difference out there in the community? Am I helping people? Because before, I give you the checklist as to how to start a business, we have to ask ourselves, is the idea that you're pursuing actually a viable business idea, and is it going to take a bite from the outside world? So that's really where it all begins. And
then Nellie, where do you take it there? Because obviously here again is kind of a demonstration of the value, right? You're not saying, hey, here's how, let's look at the corporate structure. You're now talking about the importance of it. Hey, is it a real business? Is it a hobby? Is it a differentiator? Is it going to make a difference? What are some of the other questions that you want them to continually keep asking, even after they start?
After they start, I think it's really important to ask themselves as a business owner, am I making a change in the community? Am I actually helping people change their life? And do I believe in it? Would I purchase this product? And would I work for free in building this product, even if I had to work day and night and not take a penny? Because those are the questions that I ask of myself, and that's really what's happened in the past 4 years between Phil and I in building CorpNet.com. I mean, we literally, every penny we make in this company, we reinvest in the company to constantly innovate and improve our clients' experience with the products and services we offer.
Yeah, and that's here. I mean, obviously, you mentioned, would you do it for free? We do it for free for a long time before we start to see some benefits.
And don't get me wrong. I mean, there have been times when I, as a small business owner, have wanted to throw in the towel. And when that happens as an entrepreneur, you're always going to have those moments. But the key is to step back, regroup, even if it means to take a day or two off and change your game plan. As entrepreneurs, we have to have the stomach for change, and we have to have the stomach for ups and downs and volatility as a small business owner.
And I know you guys do. Now, let's get into some of the business aspects of this, because that's really where I'd like to concentrate our efforts today. there are lots of conflicting advice about corporate structures, and there's certainly no right or wrong answer. So let's use you as an example. From your vantage point, if you guys were starting over today, how will you structure your business legally?
As a small business owner, if you have the resources, if you have the money, and if your business is such that it's making money, then I would definitely recommend one to consider incorporating the business as a small business owner. And as a small business, the two types of corporate structures that are often chosen by small business owners, depending on the tax advantages that would be available to them, would be the S corporation or the LLC. Our business structure is set up as an S corporation because my husband and I are partners in the business, and we're also employees of the corporation. So the S corporation allows us to act as employees of the corporation and get the advantages of employee benefits in addition to being shareholders of the corporation. In addition to that, as an S corporation, we get the benefit of avoiding paying double taxes, and the corporation acts as a pass-through tax entity for taxation purposes, thereby, allowing us to pay taxes on the income and on the dividend only at the individual tax level.
Gosh, you should have gone into tax. I want to talk about the S corps for a second, and I also want to get into the LLC. A lot of people shy away from the S corps, but one of the things that you preface this with is saying if you have the resources and if your business is making money. We don't get into business to sell business or to merge in a business, but opportunities come up. Very unlikely will a transaction take place with an LLC. So up front, it makes sense to consider S corps or just a regular C corp, specifically if you have aspirations greater than making this a hobby.
Absolutely. And let me step back for a minute. I mean, if somebody came to me and says, "Is your business for sale?" That's going to be a really short conversation for me as an entrepreneur, because my business is not for sale. And when I say that to people, oftentimes, and even to your employees, if you position yourself whereby, you're structuring the business with some sort of an exit strategy, I would probably say you're really, really headed for failure. As an entrepreneur, as a startup, your goal and your mindset should be to build a great big company with providing opportunities for employment and for a great team and a great staff. If someone comes along the way and it's an opportunity that you cannot refuse, then of course you will take that, cross that bridge when you get there. But I think what you need to do is set up the business structure from a standpoint as to how it's going to benefit you legally from a liability standpoint, and how it's going to benefit you from a tax standpoint.
Yeah, and the exit strategy is forever. You're just going to keep doing it till the right trigger event happens. There's lots of advantages, Nellie, to LLCs. Cover the few advantages and also tell me some of the disadvantages, because I think too many times we don't look at the disadvantages of LLCs.
Absolutely. So the LLC is the limited liability company. And in a nutshell, the benefit is that you get the beauty of having that liability protection that a normal C corporation or S corporation would offer you, but with the limited formalities. The LLC, the only true single piece of legal document that controls the LLC is the LLC operating agreement. And it's a partnership. You can have a single member LLC, which you can set up as a disregarded entity, or if you have two or more members, that are going to be joining the LLC, it could be set up as a partnership. But once again, the LLC is a formal structure whereby it's separate from the owners and it's its own entity structure. And it's normally used to, again, avoid liability, and it provides you with liability protection, separating the business from the personal assets of the members or managers of the LLC. But with limited formalities. So the typical formalities that a corporation, normally a shareholder or director has to comply with, they're not present with the LLC. The LLC, normally what you have to have is the LLC operating agreement, file your minutes each year, and then comply with the state by filing your initial annual statement of information. And as long as those steps are followed, the LLC is in compliance. Disadvantages of the LLC, Mo, again, I would say it really depends on what your personal situation is. Sometimes an LLC is not recommended if you are trying to build a company, okay? And if it's going to be built up and there's no end point to it, there's no termination date. The other thing is that with an LLC, as a member of the LLC, you cannot become an employee of the LLC, and 100% of the income derived from the LLC is subject to self-employment taxes. So those are the things to think about. Definitely consult with your tax advisor or CPA. And if you don't have one, come to corpnet.com. We can definitely have you talk to one of our in-house accountants or send you to one of our partners, Corporate Tax Network, that can offer you a free tax consultation for an hour.
That's the added benefit. Domicile is an important factor, Nellie, for all of these, whether it's SCorps or LLCs. How do you guys determine the best fit, and how do you support the clients that come to you with that?
Excellent question, Mo. One of the questions that we often get, I would say 1 out of every 2 clients asks us, okay, I'm ready to start my business. Where do I set it up? And it really comes down to, where is the business domiciled? Where is the physical presence of the business, and where is the transaction taking place? Generally speaking, for a small business owner with less than 10 employees, we see them normally being operated out of your home office. But for a small business owner, you definitely want to set up the business, incorporate or form an LLC in the state that you're physically located in, your employees are located in, the property is located in, and the business is being transacted within.
And Nellie, you get people who give lots of advice about favorable states like Nevada, like South Dakota, like Delaware. What do you say to that?
And like Wyoming and tons of other states.
Amen.
And the answer to that is that, of course, there's a huge hype out there about forming a corporation in Nevada or Delaware. In fact, I've written an article about this, and I often write about it. If you are not physically located in Nevada or Delaware or South Dakota or Wyoming, although they have favorable laws that are very pro-corporation, pro-business, you are subjecting yourself to double state laws and double filing fees. Because, for example, if you're going to be actually operating in California as a business, but you set up the corporation or LLC in Delaware, what's going to happen is when you walk into a California bank account and try to open up the bank account in California with a set of Delaware bylaws and articles of incorporation, the California bank account is going to look at you and go, okay, where are your California documents? California law still applies, even if you're a Delaware corporation. So what's going to happen in that scenario is that Delaware corporation that you formed is now going to have to foreign qualify and do business in the state of California, which means you've now subjected yourself to 2 state laws, 2 sets of filing requirements, and 2 sets of franchise tax fees and 2 sets of compliance requirements. So in a nutshell, incorporate in the state that you're going to be actually physically located and doing business in. You're going to save yourself a ton of headache down the line.
Beware, beware, beware. I want to talk about IP for a second, because IP, intellectual properties, is kind of our prized possession as entrepreneurs. But we're in an open society, Nellie. There's lots of grays here. I know you guys are not a law firm. How do you start the conversation when somebody comes to you about protecting their IP?
Really simple. Once you've started the business, you definitely want to make sure that the name that you're using as the business name of the company is protected, and you're safeguarding that, because frankly, you probably didn't come up with that perfect business name or product name overnight. Most likely you brainstormed, you sought the advice of colleagues and friends, you tested out a few options and checked what domain names were available. In short, you've invested a lot of time to create and build the brand. So we want to make sure that you are completely educated about how you can go ahead and protect that valuable asset, because your name, your brand, your logo for your business is actually a valuable asset. So you definitely want to know if you're legally allowed to use the name you pick, and what will prevent someone else from using that same name. And it all starts with trademark protection.
One thing too, in the same vein, Nellie, is NDAs. Everybody's quick to pull out an NDA, especially if they're like or telling you their ideas or whatever.
Yeah.
There is some time when it's appropriate, but there is a lot of time where it's not appropriate.
I cannot agree with you more. Because it's true. I've been in a ton of situations where the minute you start talking, they're like, "Do we have an NDA?
Exactly.
Do we have an NDA?" And bottom line, I think it's overly used, and I think it needs to be. NDAs are a great idea to have. Especially if you're in the business where you're innovating and you're constantly, launching new products and services. But for every little conversation that you're having, I really don't think an NDA is required. I mean, taking myself as an example, we'll definitely get a potential partner to execute an NDA if we feel that we're going to be entering negotiations and we're going to be getting them to sign a letter of intent. But for every single conversation, I don't think you need an NDA. And frankly, if you did need one, there are a ton of them out there. There are templates out there, free to use. And again, you can come to CorpNet and we can provide you with a basic template where you can use it for your business dealings. But please don't go out spending tons of legal fees having them draft an NDA for you.
Yeah, and also be realistic about it.
Exactly.
99% of the people aren't going to sign it.
Choose your battles.
Yeah, amen. Nellie, when a business starts to, no one can build a business on their own, right? So I don't even want to say when a business starts to grow or evolve. At some point, we have to hire people really fast. What are the important things to consider when hiring either employees or contractors?
So I've been on both sides, whereby I've been an employee and I've also been on the side where I've interviewed talent. And, in my opinion, don't hire based on the person, hire based on the position you're trying to fit, and hire based on interview candidates based on their talents to fit that position. We here at CorpNet.com use an outside resource to hire our talent, because I feel that I can focus on what I do best, which is training that talent once they're hired, and using an outside staffing agency to place that talent for me saves me a ton of time and money, so that I don't do all the things that they need to do, such as the background checks, the reference checks, etc.
Good, smart decision. Nellie, how about employment agreements? Can't just bring them on, right? You have to have some type of an employment agreement. Give me your insight on that. How do you guys support there?
Again, as a small business owner, and from what my knowledge is that California law is such that they do not require employment agreements because we're in an at-will state. Okay, if you want to have one to solidify what you've spoken about with the employee, you can do that. But as far as getting the employee to to stay with the company, again, we're in an at-will state. It's an at-will employment. And, it takes two sides to tango. You know what I mean? It takes two to tango. So in my opinion, we don't have them here at my business. Generally speaking, what we do have is non-disclosure agreement, NDA, that requires the employee not to share information with the outside world after their employee ends with the company. But we don't have an employee agreement for our customer sales support staff. If we do hire an executive whereby, they're here to help us grow the bottom line of the company and they're in an executive level, then oftentimes we'll have an employment agreement whereby, it's for a period of time. And it's really to protect the employee, because they normally will ask for one if they're leaving a job to come and take on another job. But we'll make it for like either 6 months to a year so that there's always room to renegotiate.
And I heard somebody say once that really always sticks with me: good fences make good neighbors. So
exactly.
keep that in mind. Tell me the most recurring mistake you see people who come to you guys make when it comes to just the basic incorporation stuff.
I would say the general mistake is what we covered, is incorporating in a state where they're not residing in, and generally incorporating in Nevada and Delaware, and then finding out that, oh my God, I now have to foreign qualify the business in the state that I'm actually conducting business in and physically located in. And then secondly, I would say, and there's actually, I have three. The second one I would say is setting up the wrong entity structure to begin with because they haven't done their due diligence. And then third on that list is failing to keep the business in compliance after they formed it, because they think, okay, well, I formed a corporation and I don't have to do anything else. And that's not true. As a corporation, you are required to keep the corporation in compliance. But again, as a small business owner, we have the answers for you. You don't have to do it. You can have a reputable document filing service such as our company handle all the compliance work for you.
And that's, I think, of all of them, obviously all of them are very relevant. That third one is a biggie.
Correct.
Because again, as entrepreneurs, we get bogged down and we don't think about it. Tell me, what is the best way that you've learned, again, and how you guys can assist there? And what's the best way for entrepreneurs to pay him or herself? You mentioned that you guys get paid from the company.
Well, our company is structured as an S corporation and we're employees of the company. As a small business owner, again, if you have the resources to incorporate or form an LLC, then I would definitely consider incorporation as a viable option for a small business owner who's actually in business and making money. And then if you decide to go the LLC route because it's favorable to you from a tax standpoint, then as an LLC, you would just pay yourself, a dividend income. But again, keep in mind that, 100% of the income is subject to self-employment taxes. As an S corporation, you can pay yourself as a shareholder through the way of dividends, or you can pay yourself as an employee of the S corporation.
Fantastic. So let's end with this. Literally, this week, you guys have revamped the site. I can get on it on my mobile. You've revamped my resource network. Tell people about CorpNet. How do we get, obviously, CorpNet.com. What should I expect when I come to the site?
You're going to expect CorpNet.com. Currently, we've revamped the site. You'll see a much newer picture of myself on the site.
Sleek picture, yep.
Which probably probably it's about, I'm a little bit older now than the old one, but it's a much cleaner site and much more user friendly and much more accessible through mobile browsers with a ton more resources and content for a startup or a new or existing business owner who wants to start a new business or maintain their existing business in compliance. And for all of you out there who'd like to reach out to me personally, I can be reached through Twitter at CorpNet Nellie, through Facebook at Facebook/CorpNet, or simply reach out to me by phone at 1-888-752-0363 or email at info@corpnet.com.
And what I love about how we do what we do is that they're as natural as they come. So that's why your phone always rings, because you're there to help. So as always, this is part 2. Look forward to part 3 and part 10.
I look forward to it as well, Mo. Have a wonderful day.
You too.
Take care.